Yes, everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is Full Time Devils. The Premier League season is over, but Manchester United have got one more game to go. This is the Full Time Review. This is the place for you to get your comments in. We're talking to you live in the Facebook comments, and we're also taking out the comments on screen from everybody who got involved on the free word review. And we'll also have some other comments coming through in a bit as well. I want to talk about progress. I'm going to talk about Michael Carrick, obviously. Don't worry about that. I'm going to talk about the youth because that was a little bit disappointing this weekend. I'm going to talk about the Cup, clearly. But I want to talk about progress. So it didn't feel like a progressive season, but the fact is it was a progressive season. I think the Sevilla result, arguably the West Brom result, and just some of the feelings of the performances has really felt like we've gone backwards. But the fact is we haven't gone backwards. Liverpool have got a striker that scored them like 40-something goals. I think he's ended up on, is he even over 40? I don't know. He scored a right load of goals, regardless. They're in a European Cup final. They came fourth. The best team that's never won a Premier League in Tottenham, no, we're above them. We came second. We came second with enough points to win Premier Leagues in quite a lot of seasons. City set the bar extremely high, and I would be surprised if they're able to maintain that next season. And before everyone starts commenting, of course they will, they're going to buy again. Let me just cast your mind back, because history definitely has a way of repeating it. You can't have infinite growth. There's always a bounce back and problems and stuff like that. And Manchester United, 1999, we won the treble. The following year, we won the league by record amount of points at the time. Won it the earliest it had been won. We followed that up in 2001, winning it again for the third time. I think that was the first time that had been done in the Premier League era. I think that summer, we signed Juan Sebastian Veron. I think we signed Ruud van Nistelrooy that summer. If it wasn't, it was the summer after. But I was like, we're never going to lose again. We're never going to lose again. Juan Sebastian Veron at the time was literally like us signing like a Tony Cruz level of player in a midfield that already had Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, pretty much peak. It was perfect. Sir Alex had been there over 10 years. He'd won a European Cup. He'd won 3 leagues on a bounce. He owned the Premier League. Arsenal won a double that year. And that was the time when Sir Alex started to take apart that side. This Manchester City side's a very young side, but there's players there that are playing key roles that are not probably going to be there next year. Yaya Toure being one. There's question marks over Aguero being another. David Silva's getting on a little bit. Can he maintain that sort of thing? So I don't expect Manchester City to put in the level of performance that they've put in this season. I think some teams are going to be able to study the tape on those teams that were successful against them last season, including ourselves, and be able to try and replicate that. So they're not going to have it all their own way. Teams will figure them out. Now they've got the time to do so. But we've still got to be better. We've got to be better against the smaller teams. We were pretty impressive. We had a good record against the top 6 teams, but I think we dropped 15 points against teams that was pretty much relegation fodder. That's got to change. And that's something that you don't expect from a Jose Mourinho team. You expect him to turn up and steamroll us. But the facts remain. 81 points, 68 goals scored. We scored more goals than we scored in the 2009 season when we went to the European Cup final and we won the league. Lukaku scored more this season than Ronaldo did in that 2009 season. 1 more goal than him. And Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or in December of that season. We've got more points than the treble season. There's been tangible progress made. First time we've won 20 league games since Sir Alex retired as well. There's been progress. I think if Jose Mourinho gets the will and the team that he wants assembled over the summer, and we're going to talk about Deadwood in a little bit, but there's a lot of Deadwood that needs to go, and I think he's going to be quite ruthless in doing that. Then I think Manchester United can challenge next season. There's a reshuffle going on in the coaching staff. Michael Carrick is going to become a part of that. There's other names that are being talked around about as well. Kieran McKenna from the under-18s is one. And I do think that looking at how the under-18s played free-flowing attacking football next season, he could be a massive asset to Jose Mourinho's coaching staff. And a lot of people are questioning, what do assistants do? Surely it's on the manager. I disagree. It's a team. He has the final say, but it's a very much a team effort with them. And I'm looking forward to Michael Carrick being a part of that. One of the most cerebral, intelligent players that we've seen. Criminally underrated for his entire career. And even today, people are arguing with me on Twitter that he was never any good anyway. Mike, let me tell you this. You do not win the amount of trophies that Michael Carrick has won without being a good player. You don't do it by accident. He was the catalyst when he joined in 2006 for United to win the title back after Jose Mourinho had won back-to-back titles with Chelsea. He was the man that made that team of Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez tick. We had an excellent defence and goalkeeper behind him. We had an excellent attack in front of him. But Michael Carrick tied it together. And it was no coincidence that from Michael Carrick signing, United won 3 on the bounce and then won a handful more towards the end of Sir Alex's reign. And the last 5 years, well, they've not been great, have they? Let's be honest with ourselves. And Jose Mourinho, as he's going to tell you himself in a press conference in a minute, he got Michael Carrick too late, but he's got some excellent things to say about him. Michael Carrick is one of the most... I'm struggling for the words to say, but Michael Carrick is one of the most underrated. One of the most bitterest men in the world is in the comments here as well, said Stephen House and Monty Hughes. It's a shame you can't read, mate, because the article's still out there, which I've written, so go and find out for yourself. Comments now coming in. We've got David Bell says Young must be close to his testimonial. I think, was it 2010 he signed? Something along those lines, might be 2010, 2011. Bring back Carlos Queiroz. Why? Sandro should be the first player to be signed. I do think we're going to sign a left back, absolutely. Can easily see 5 in and 5 out, says Ragdoll Rejects. I don't think you'd be that far out. Ollie says he win the Ballon d'Or for the 2008 season, but it's awarded in the 2008-2009 season, and it's January to January or January to December, supposedly, isn't it? Whoever brings Mourinho into his staff will tell us what kind of direction. Whoever Jose brings into his staff will tell us what kind of direction he wants the team to go. Well, if it's Michael Carrick and it's Kieran McKenna, observing McKenna for the last 2 years with the 18s, he likes to play a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and he likes all-out attack. They conceded a lot of goals last year, but they scored a lot of goals last year. Underappreciated player, says Sanjay. He was average, said Pedro. Pedro, it's all right, mate. If you just say, I don't like football and I don't understand it, that would be easier to write there. Way too much deadwood. We need 5 or 6 signings, says Ross. Listen, Jose's got some stuff that he wants to say about Carrick and about the assistants, so we'll fire over his press conference and you can see what the gaffer had to say following the game this weekend.
Can we just clear one thing up? There's a story that Anthony Marshall drove away from the ground before the game. Could you just clear up what's happened there?
Your story?
No, not mine on this occasion.
Not true. He's injured.
So was he not here at all?
No, he was injured. He was injured Friday training session. Yesterday couldn't train.
So he stayed at home?
Yeah, he had treatment in the morning in the training ground and he stayed away. I don't know. We have to see. But Anthony, I have to wait a bit more.
What is the problem?
Me. And his problem.
Nice send off for Michael Carrick. Jose, obviously you've spoken a lot about him, but how he's obviously joining your coaching staff, but how hard is it to replace a player who has that sort of temperament, quality, control, and also that experience and winning mentality and the medals he brings to the dressing room?
You know, it was difficult because it was already difficult for me these 2 seasons because I got him in the last period of his career, where it was obviously difficult for him to play consecutive matches of higher intensity, never a big injury, thankfully, but little problems were coming now and again, and when he was ready for more, a little problem was coming. So was a period where it was so important for us in many aspects, but he couldn't have the continuity of the player he was for the club. A fantastic player. I think I can call Sir Alex the intelligent one to buy him, and I can call him the happy one to have him for I don't know, so many years of his career as a phenomenal player. I'm not so sad because it's just the end of his career as a player, but he stays with us, and I'm always more connected to the person than to the player. The persons are more important for me than the players. So I'm going to have him, and he stay with us. So because of that, I'm not so sad.
Will Michael have some input, Jose, into the midfielder you bring in to maybe replace him or another midfielder?
You know, the moment is my assistant. He participates in the process, and participate in the process means participate in every aspect. And of course, I have to make the decisions. But of course, my assistants, they have an opinion, and he has obviously, in relation to his position, obviously he has a different vision than any other opinion that we can have from any scout or any analyze department.
Will it be your number 2, Joseph, with Rui Faria going?
No number 2.
Well, will you look to bring in a number 2?
No.
You'll promote from
No.
William will start?
No.
So how do you see it moving forward then with Rui not being?
Moving forward,
Yeah.
I will organize my coaching staff in a way where the assistant manager figure doesn't exist. I'm going to have coaches, assistant coaches. I'm going to have fitness coaches, and a structure where obviously they have specialists in the different areas connected to the performance. My analysts, and I'm not going to have an assistant manager in the sense of the words.
Is there a particular reason for that?
Particular reason is that I think will be Michael Carrick in the future. In the future, when he has his badges, when he has his pro license, when he makes the bridge between a player to an assistant, because people think he's just like one day I am a player, the next day I am a coach, and it's not like that. The brain can be ready for that, but then you need the practice, the decision making, the control, the leadership, the work in groups. But I don't think it makes sense when Rui is leaving after 17 years. I have nobody in the world of football ready to be my assistant manager. Nobody. So I prefer to educate people, to structure my staff in a way where there is space for their education, for their improvement. And I think naturally, when Michael has the coaching, the pro license badges, normally with the personality he has, with the friendship, with the honesty, I think will be for him. But obviously I'm going to improve my staff in the performance level related to the fitness and the relation with the tactical work. So I'm going to bring some people that until this moment you didn't come with a name yet.
Last question.
Given Rui's been with you throughout your 17 years, been such a feature of your success, how difficult is it going to be going forward without him?
It's difficult because of my friend. No, it's difficult because of my friend. It's just that, 17 years, as I was saying, is a long time. We spend more time with each other than we spend with anybody else in our lives. So it's hard by that perspective. But by the work point of view, is a new moment. Even for me, the process of education is something that I like to do, and I enjoy to see my assistants jumping and trying other things, and I like to see the evolution. I like to see the years going and the young people becoming mature and ready and prepared. So by that perspective, it's a challenge even for the other guys behind the assistant manager. In this moment, no assistant manager. So I think it's also an opportunity for the other guys to flourish, you say, no?
Yes,
to step up a little bit more and to be more participating in the training process. And so I think and the way it ends is the way it has to be, because between two brothers, you know. I never had a brother. I had a sister that passed away many years ago, and if I have to say, is this kid that is my closest one.
Okay, guys.
Right then, a lot to digest there from what the gaffer has said. If we go all the way back to the beginning, and he talks about Martial being injured, there was also talk yesterday about his missus going into labour, and there's the third option, which I'm not going to call Jose a liar, but there's a lot of transfer rumours going around, which I think we have to believe. I will actually be surprised if Martial's a Manchester United player that goes on the tour, or at least starts the Premier League season. I think the transfer rumours are very much real, and I think there might have been a chance that he either got told he wasn't playing or he wasn't going to be involved, and he's just gone, right, I'm out of here then, laters. Not saying that's what happened, just saying that's a possibility. He could also be injured, and we could just be reading too much into it. But I just wasn't buying what Jose said at the start there. So obviously he talks about Michael Carrick, and he says he got him at the end of his career, but he credits Sir Alex with being the intelligent one. For the guy that brings him in. He also mentions he's staying with us, and he feels more connected to the person than he does the player, the great player that Michael Carrick was. And then he also goes into quite a lot of depth, actually, about his relationship with Rue Farrier, wherever he's off, the offer that he's got. It'll be interesting to see. I did actually manage to grab a quick word with Rue as he was leaving Old Trafford yesterday, and just said, good luck wherever you're going, mate. I didn't ask him because I can imagine every single person's been going like, where are you going, where are you going, where are you going? So I think it's very interesting how Mourinho's going to set it up. He says he's not going to be getting a number 2 there, but he also refers to everybody as an assistant. It's going to be interesting how he sets it up. As we were saying earlier, if Michael Carrick's going to be a part of that, he's obviously got to finish his pro licence. Kieran McKenna rumoured to be coming in and having some part to play in the coaching setup. And obviously he's already got his current group of analysts and coaches as well. So it is going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Would someone like Carrick and McKenna coming in be pathways for some of the youngsters to get games? We will have to see. Now, one thing that really annoyed me yesterday with what Jose said is, well, it wasn't what he said, more of what he did. For over 30 years, Manchester United have given a debut out every season. We've averaged 3.5 debuts a season for the last 30 odd years. This is a separate record that we've got to the one where we've had a youth player in every single matchday squad since 1938. But this is still a record to be proud of. This is a record that Manchester United have done every single season, bringing someone through. That's credit to the academy, that's credit to the management, and yesterday was a nothing game. What did we learn about playing, say, Darmian yesterday? What did we learn about playing some players that we know everything about in essentially what's a friendly? Bringing youngsters in. I've seen people saying it's an irrelevant record, but let me tell you this. As you walk from the academy building to the main headquarters at Carrington, there's a pathway that runs through the middle of the car park. In the middle of that car park, there's a glass wall. On that glass wall is the debuts of every single player, I think since the 1950, I think. Every single season is listed, and every single player that made their debut in that season is listed. So academy players are seeing that every single day when they go to Old Trafford. They're walking past, they're seeing Duncan Edwards, there's Bobby Charlton, here's George Best, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Norman Whiteside, all the way through to Wes Brown, Cleverley, Marcus Rashford, right? Scott McTominay, Angel Gomez. Those lads got debuts at the end of last season. This season, because of Jose's decision yesterday, just not even to put one of them on the bench, has broken a 30-plus year tradition of Manchester United giving debuts every single season. Now, Jose's not going to be here forever. I don't like that record going. I don't like the fact that these youngsters who are up against it anyway, you have got to be so good now to be given an opportunity as a young player coming through. Arguably more so than at any time ever, because of the pressures of the TV money and transfer fees and this, that and the other. So for them lads to be walking through, if they're seeing names next to each year, there's hope. And ultimately, we would all be happy if we had the best team in the world and it was 100% homegrown, wouldn't we? That's something to aspire to. It's very, very unrealistic, but so is winning another treble. That's the sort of thing that we should aspire to. Having the best academy that produces the best players and never having to spend a penny in the transfer market. How good would that be? That's what should be United's aspiration. Jose Mourinho broke that yesterday for no apparent reason. And I'm upset, and I don't like that at all. Pedro says, at this point, youngsters were to blame in some games. I would say United need mature players in order to fight for the title. Really? Fuck Kieran says, oh yeah, he gave a few because the media were all over his back. Where are they now? It doesn't matter. It's still the dream and the hope and the chance. There's some excellent players that I guarantee are going to have football careers at the highest level that he could have given debuts to. Tahith Chong, and there's others in the academy that would have been well worth a debut. Nothing. I agree, it's always Jose first, club second for him, which is why Mourinho can never be a long-term manager, says Aditya. Jarrell says, where was Sanchez yesterday when Carrick was saying goodbye? Sanchez is not a team player. I saw a few people mentioning that. Maybe he thought, I've only known him for a handful of months. It could have been that. Obviously, everybody else ran over to him and stuff like that, so, Jay says, Jose only favours Scott because he's tall. I can't see players like Gomez getting too many chances outside of 3 minutes in an FA Cup game, which is sad, isn't it? Because actually those 3 minutes that he played and the 10 minutes that he got at the end of last season, he looked fantastic. This season has been an improvement from last season, says Saint for Life. Kushal says, with the window opening early, are we going to start with transfer daily? Maybe. Yes. Kai says younger players can provide a different dynamic if needed. Yes, this is what I was talking about specifically with the Watford game. They were safe. We was going nowhere apart from second. There's an FA Cup final coming at the weekend, so players that might know that they're playing or might think they know that they're playing, are they going to put 100% in? Are they going to go in for a 50-50? Are they actually going to maybe risk injury to make something happen? They're not, are they? Because they're like, I want to play in the FA Cup final. This is a friendly, essentially. It's an end-of-season friendly. You put a youngster in, they know they're not playing in the FA Cup final next weekend. They're going, this is my FA Cup final. This is the biggest game of the season for me. They're walking out there thinking, I'm giving 110% in this game and nothing's going to stop me. And then the dynamic of the crowd changes because the crowd's like, oh yes, we've got a youngster coming on here, let's have a look what he can do. And that's what happened last season. Crystal Palace game was a nothing game. It didn't matter. But the lads went out there and they played football for the right reasons and the crowd got behind them for the purity of the right reasons. And we was robbed of that yesterday and I'm upset about it. So I'm venting about it. Kushal says Chong would have burned down the right wing yesterday if played. Maria says, where would you put Gomez, behind Lukaku or on the wing? I think he's Iniesta-ish, a small, slight dude with incredible vision and a wonderful touch and ability in that final third. You have to sort of craft a position for him. I think you could play him in a midfield as a number 8. Almost in a way that David Silva's been played for Manchester City, but the rest of the team has to be ready for that as well. The vision on the kid is unbelievable, but you're going to have some real workhorses next to him because similar to Pogba, the best that you're getting out of him is not defensive work. So the best out of him is going to be what he does in the final third. We need to break the bank to compete with City. What's your opinion? No, we don't necessarily need to break the bank. You can just buy astute players. International level fullbacks that can cross a ball aren't going to cost us 100 million. So just find those players. We have the largest scouting network in the country, supposedly. Let's utilise that and find those gems. United could still pick up bargains if they wanted to. I just wonder if the pressure is on United to sign those big signings for commercial reasons rather than for the team reasons. I think the signings that Manchester City have made over the last couple of years, they've been a little bit lower in terms of overall value, even though their collective value has been greater. But they've been really astute signings, the right kind of players that City needed or thought they needed at the time. Some have been replaced since, which is something that only Pep Guardiola gets to do. But they thought they were signing the right person for the right position to fit the philosophy that they had as a team. Sanchez, for me, didn't really fit the philosophy. But I also agree with signing him, because when a world-class player like that becomes available, wants to join you, you get them. But it wasn't like the obvious position that we needed to fill, was it? We have to do. We need to sack the manager to compete with City, says Espen. Okay, mate, I'll let you have that as an opinion, because that's your opinion. But you can't just say, we need to sack him, without suggesting who's going to come in and do better. Because if Jose Mourinho, with the record that he's got as an absolute extreme winner, hasn't been able to compete with this team, I'd love to hear your suggestion on who can. Because for me, Jurgen Klopp couldn't. Not that we'd ever get him from Liverpool now. And I think Pochettino, who's the one that a lot of people want, hasn't been able to do it with a better team. And you can talk to me about the spend of Spurs as much as you like. But that team, on paper, in everybody else's eyes, is better than Manchester United. So why are they finishing below us? And why did we knock them out of the FA Cup? Supposedly got the best striker in the world. Eriksen, Ali, Son, everybody raves about them. They play beautiful football. Wanyama, Dyer, people are absolutely talking them up to death. Best defence in the league. Right? Our goalkeeper's the only thing that we're obviously better at in most people's eyes. So why are Tottenham finishing below us, and why are we knocking them out of the cup? Ozzy says, if Jose doesn't win the league and the Champions League and he wants to stay next season, would I be in or out? I think it needs time. I don't think you can just give such black and white binary options like that. If we have a real good go for it and lose out on goal difference, are you going to be like, he's got to go? If we lose to some sort of offside handball or something like that in the Champions League final, you're going to be like, oh, that's not acceptable, we got to go. You have to see how it goes, mate. Right, we got some fan cams coming up talking about the wonderful brilliance that was, I was going to say it is, but it was now, isn't it? Michael Carrick's career. So here's Jay Motti. Take it away.
Michael Carrick's finally hanging up his boots as a United player. Here's what fans had to say about him ahead of his final game here at Old Trafford.
Thank you for the years of service. Thank you for inspiring players, giving the fans everything, giving your everything, and carry it on in the coaching staff and hopefully inspire the next set of players.
A lot of players have looked up to him. Been a great player for United. Shown the force.
Michael Carrick, club legend, living legend. We're going to miss you. Singing your name all game long. God, it's emotional.
Who's taking over from him? Who's going to replace a guy like that? I mean, guy controlled the game. Matic kind of comes a little bit close, but he's not really got that attacking flair that Carrick had. A great servant to the club.
It's sad times, but onwards and upwards. He's still going to be in the club, and I'm happy about that.
How chuffed are you that he's going to be joining the coaching staff?
Yeah, I'm quite happy. You need something like that because we've not had it in the last couple of years, and he's going to be a part of the coaching staff. Mourinho's number 2's left, hasn't he? So yeah, we definitely need it, and a bit of Man United spirit is needed, and he's the one to provide it.
He's won everything. Last person out of the 2008 Champions League final winning team. I think he's done phenomenal. So all the best, yeah.
Gutted that he's gone. Best passer since scores. So yeah, gonna miss him.
What's your favourite memory?
His goals.
Roma.
It was against Roma. Yeah, those 2 goals easily.
I remember watching that game thinking like, is this really happening? Like I remember feeling like pinching myself.
Both the same goals as well. It was weird.
Thank you. 12 years. Been outstanding.
I thought he's been a great player. Scored so many great goals. He's one of the best players who's played for Man United in the same position.
So you've heard what fans here at Old Trafford had to say about Michael Carrick. Personally, I think he's one of the best players we've had in recent years. Vastly underrated, certainly on the international stage. If you want to get involved in your views, comment on the comments below.
Right then, so that was what some of the Reds outside Old Trafford had to say. Make sure you go and check out our fan cams as well. They're all up on our YouTube channel. Definitely go and check those out as soon as this video is finished. A lot of people talking about what Michael Carrick can bring to the coaching staff, and we don't know yet, do we? That's the top and bottom of it. We're all excited thinking, what did Michael Carrick bring as a footballer? But I think when you look at what footballers did, I think when you look at extremely talented footballers that are skillful, I think the problem that they've had when they've tried to transition to be a manager is that they just expect other players to have the ability that they had, and then it winds them up when they don't. What I think Michael Carrick did throughout his career, and he's almost showing at the moment as well, in terms of when you listen to what the likes of Marcus Rashford said when he says he gets in my ear and he says this, that and the other, and what Paul Pogba has said, and there's other players as well saying that Michael Carrick has already been a teacher at Carrington. He's already grabbing players and he's giving them little tips. Now, the experience of this guy, the trophy cabinet of Michael Carrick, cannot be questioned, because that's one thing that you have with coaches and managers is, are they respected by their fellow professionals? Because you're talking with some serious egos with professional football, absolute extreme winners. If they spot a weakness in someone, they're not going to respect it. Michael Carrick's give them nothing ever to question him on. His conduct has been impeccable. His experience is vast. He's won everything there is to win. He's an English champion, a European champion, and a world champion at one of the biggest clubs in the world. Michael Carrick could not be questioned on any of those things by anybody. And because of the way he played the game, I think we all expect someone who had that calm composure, that always liked to find that ball, that Michael Carrick special ball, the one on the floor that only he sees, around the halfway line, into the final third. Somebody else gets on it and gets the credit for an assist. But it's a goal that doesn't happen without Michael Carrick's vision. If he's seeing those sort of things on the game, I think deep down the reason we're all excited for Michael Carrick potentially becoming a future manager is because we think, if he's seeing it, that's the sort of thing he's going to want his teams to play. That's the sort of style he's going to input into his own players. And I'm with yous, man. I can't wait to see what Michael Carrick delivers as a coach. I noticed at the FA Cup semi-final, there was right below us. It was when Valencia got injured. Rashford was warming up to go on. Valencia then got injured. And I think, did we put Darmian on? I can't remember who we put on. And Rashford was pulled back. And as he was pulled back, Michael Carrick just absolutely bent his ear off for about 2-3 minutes. And Rashford was doing as much nodding as a nodding dog. And Carrick was pointing all over the pitch and talking to stuff in his ear. And I love that. I love that he's got very specific instructions that he wants to see going down. And he's got the confidence to stand up with what's essentially not his coaching staff. He's the newbie to all of these lot. And he's giving those instructions. So I did like that. Trevor says, Howson, we should replace Mourinho with either Wenger or Rodgers. You, my friend, are a troll. Carrick, future England manager. Who knows? What do I think of Gary Monk? I think if you're suggesting he could be a United manager, I think you need to go and have a bath. Fergie came from a lower level managerial background. Jose should be doing better. Did he really? Ferguson won a European trophy with Aberdeen against Real Madrid. Did he really come from a lower... All right, okay. Yaya Toure or Michael Carrick, who has had a better career? That's a good question. I would have to say Michael Carrick. Yaya Toure is going to go down as one of the Premier League greats, but again, this is just what's happened, isn't it? Underrated Michael Carrick. Mams says Carrick wasn't underplayed for England because he was up against probably the best midfield generation for England. Lampard, Scholes, Beckham, Gerrard, etc. This is the problem. People pick on big names and expect big names to fit together. What Michael Carrick did was he blended together with some of those midfielders. Look at how we won the Champions League final in 2008. That was an all-English midfield. Owen Hargreaves, Paul Scholes, Michael Carrick. Remind me how England did again at that 2008 tournament? Don't think we qualified, to be honest. What does that tell you? You've got a team winning a European trophy with 2 Englishmen in defence, 3 Englishmen in midfield, and 1 Englishman up front, and we couldn't even qualify for a tournament. That's because people are being picked on reputation and not on how to put a team together. Who would you replace Carrick with? I don't know. I think you probably have to look at what he was offering at his peak rather than what he offered last season, the season before. We do need a player. I think he proved it this weekend. And I'd love to have seen him come on against Sevilla and do what he did, because that's what we really needed in that game, was someone who can actually control the tempo a little bit. And we didn't have it. But there was times yesterday, he wouldn't have spilt a glass of water if he'd have been running around with it. It was flawless yesterday. And the balls he was putting in, you're like, can we not just give him another 12-month contract and see what happens? There would have been a use for him. The guy is a walking example of class. And we're going to miss him. And he's been a great servant to Manchester United for 12 years. Let's hope he's here for a 12 years that's as full as many trophies as we was for the previous 12. Right, we have got the lads in United on YouTube coming up. Let's see what they've got to say.
Manchester United won Watford 0 as Michael Carrick plays his last game in a red shirt, and to be honest, most underrated player in Premier League history, hands down.
So that was that. A good end to a good season. Progress has been made. Second place has been secured. 19 points is a bit hard to swallow, being behind them by 19 points. But hey, look at the bigger picture. 81 points is not a bad place to be at the end of the season.
I mean, the way we could have used him against Sevilla and Liverpool at away. Like, he could just dictate the play, honestly. But overall, the whole season, 81 points.
There have been some matches where we have just switched off. We need to make sure we don't do that again. In the fan camps, the old man, he was right. He was 100% right. We have to get into games, start games like we started the Arsenal game.
Few things we have to fix for next year if we want to challenge. 1, ruthless with Deadwood, aggressive with transfers. Number 2, stop playing so slow. And number 3, you just gotta go out, have some freaking balls about you, and just attack teams and stretch them. Then we could see where we are. FA Cup final next week, hopefully we do well.
Let's see how next season goes. Good season. Thank you, Carrick. And looking forward to next season then.
Right, that was what the lads had to say in United on YouTube. If you want to get involved in United on YouTube, hit the description, send us an email, and when we're back after the games, you can be sending us a 30-second review and get your opinion over for the lads. Right then, so as we mentioned at the top of the show, Raf was talking about the points tally. The points tally proves progress, doesn't it? As much as it didn't exactly feel like it. And as he mentioned there, we could have used Carrick a lot more. There was games that we arguably should have used Carrick a lot more. Matic was overplayed at times, and just that little bit of calm intelligence was really needed for Carrick to come in. And he also mentions ruthless with the Deadwood. I think we are going to see United be ruthless with the Deadwood. Flea says, yeah, I lost a bit of faith in Jose when we lost to Sevilla. I think everybody did. And not only that, I think he tried to cover it up with some really poorly advised comments about how many times he'd sat in this chair after the United had lost. Time and a place. Dave says, bring Gossy back. He could potentially be as good as Carrick. It's an excellent point. I think Sean Goss is a left-footed closest thing I think I've seen to a Carrick. He's done great for Rangers. I don't think he's played so much recently at Rangers, but he did great at Rangers for most of the season. I just think he needs to come and get into a mid-level Premier League team, show us that wand of a left foot, and potentially John Goss coming back could be a future Michael Carrick. Alan says, do I think Marshall will leave? Yes, I do. Jesse, the turning point of the season was Pogba's injury and Lukaku's dip in form. Absolutely. Carrick to me was a pretty average ball passer, like a Blind or a Rojo, more a mid-table player. What? You just told me the sky's orange, mate. What are you on about? Okay. Should it be favourable if United play the top 6 teams earlier in the season? You play everybody over the course of 38 games. Doesn't really matter. If you use the argument that more points equals progression, how can you argue City, having the most points in the Premier League history, haven't had the best season in history in the Prem alone? Because it's relative to what you're playing at the moment. If Manchester United, as second, are as shit as everybody is saying, then how can the team that beat them be considered greater than at a time when English football completely dominated Europe? So from 2005 to 2010-ish, there was an English team in every Champions League final, including 2 in the 2008 final, and regularly 3 out of the 4 semi-finalists in the Champions League were English. English football dominated the Premier League. English football was dominated by Manchester United when the English football dominated the Champions League. At the moment, that's not the case, is it? At all. So this is a poor Premier League season. You can tell that by the teams that are going down because they're awful. And if Manchester United are the second best team that can amass that many points, it's proof of how bad that is. Rashford will stand out next season. I certainly hope so, mate. Arsenal did not lose a game in their season. Well, they did. They didn't lose a game in a competition. It wasn't the season. Thank you very much. It's sad how underweighted Carrick was. Even last season when he played really well. Yeah, he was fantastic last season. Statman Dave's in the comments. Go give him abuse. Rishnab says, when England picked Scott Parker over Carrick, I think Jake Livermore's got more international caps than Michael Carrick. And on that note, the absolute tragedy, and one of the reasons why, Manchester United fans just can't get excited for England because they have decision making like that at the top. We have got loads of stuff coming up for the FA Cup final, so make sure to check it out. We have got a quiz coming with Sophie. We will be having a debate, we'll have a big preview, and then we'll have everything coming from what is hopefully another FA Cup final, another successful trip to Wembley. Come on, the lads. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sure I'll see you plenty this week. Laters.